Right now. Hello, folks. It's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, and so that means we're doing the San Carlos Computer Club. So far, I've got Fred and Chester with me, but as always, we'll expect some other people to join us throughout this hour. Good morning and welcome, you two. You've got your cameras off, which is fine, whatever you'd like. But Fred, we've got a lot of breakfast background noise coming across on your end. If you wouldn't mind muting or being conscientious, that's thank you. That's much clearer. Well, we were just chatting about anything but tech, and so we're going to change the focus. I shared this link with Fred so that he could get to my document. I will put it in our chat so Chester can well if he hasn't already got it up. And one of the first things you'd notice in our document from last week is I have left this bit about enrolling in Windows 10 extended service support or service update. I didn't talk about it last week. There was nobody with us last week that I thought was interested in this, and we may be in that same boat right now between the two of you. I know Chester runs Windows 11 and Fred runs Macintosh. And I may just let this linger in our document for a bit just so that we get a chance to talk about it. But it's basically the if you are still running Windows 10, and I do have at least two computers running Windows 10 regularly, then this is what it looks like to get the extended support. That's all this graphic is representing. Yeah, Fred.
Apple has come out with 26.
I saw that. Thank you for bringing it up because I don't have it in my notes, but you're absolutely right. Let me make a quick note that Apple version, or I should say, they're versioning. They're trying to standardize everything, and they're trying to do it on the year of the release. So this is iOS. Or I'm sorry, we don't even refer to it like that. This is iPhone OS, iPad OS, Apple TV OS, Apple Watch OS, all standardizing on the 26 moniker for the latest release. And I also saw, Fred, I don't know if you noticed this, but this morning I heard that that 26 has, so they've had 26 for about a week, I'm thinking, maybe two, and they've already needed to put out a fix to it, reaffirming my rule of thumb: don't update the first or second, wait for 2-point releases if you want to avoid headaches, because they've already had some issues that have required them to release immediately an update. Are you familiar with that, Fred?
Yes, I'm running 2601.
Are you familiar with what needed to be fixed? Because I just heard about it this morning.
No, I'm not. It pops up and says it's available, and when I get to Florida, I have to. Now, you're getting very, very, very noisy.
I am getting very noisy?
Yes.
Chester, are you having the same experience? Are you hearing a lot of noise on your end from me?
I think I'm hearing it from Fred.
Yeah, I'm definitely hearing it from Fred, but how about now? Are you hearing a lot of noise? No, it's clear?
No, I'm not. No.
Fred, I don't know what's going on your end, but it doesn't sound like I'm the one making the noise. So one of the things that I was going to mention about this, Apple version 26 across all their devices, is that 26 I did not pop up as an update. I have an iPhone 11, And you know how when an update becomes available, then a red flag pops up. It tells you there is an update available to you. This release has not done that. In fact, I didn't think that my phone was going to qualify for it until I went digging in the update, let it check for updates, going through the spinning graphic, and it gave me the 26 update available for download, the full version, not the beta version. And so if people out there are interested in this, you may have to go looking for it yourself. It may not present to you as an update available. I'm not sure what the thinking is behind that. Maybe that's Apple's way of controlling the rollout. Fred, I wanted to ask you though that when that .01 release came out, I hope that showed up as a flagged update with a red dot indicating you need to give an update to your phone.
Well, I got a notification on my phone. It was a pop-up. But your noise has gone away, by the way.
Oh, okay, great. I'm looking in my software updates right now, and I wonder if they've gotten broken at some point, because it is also not flagging the 17.1 update, or I'm sorry, the 18.7.1 update out. My phone is still running 8.6.2 at the moment. The 18.7 was also released. Time is. I don't have any information about that, better or worse, but neither of them popped up as a major or as an update. I don't want to say great, but as a update. My phone with a red flag. Both of them I've had to go. Still available for my platform, but nothing pushing me towards it. I don't know. Seems like strange behavior.
Well, when I get in Ford, I sit there and go out and check to see if there's a software update. Right now, I'm 2 weeks behind in my email, so when you're 5 days at sea and you can't get into your email or internet at all, you get behind.
I'm saying the enemy from the end to military.
On another subject, did you see where they're pulling all the generals and admirals and flag rank military to Quantico for a meeting today?
Yeah, I mean they announced it last week at some point. Sounded like Trump was planning on crashing it. Is there a tech angle to that, or do I just need to continue to be disappointed in our country?
Well, it's kind of stupid to pull all of your leaders into one room at one time. All it takes is a little bit of sulfur and charcoal.
That seems like some common sense logic. You wouldn't, especially announcing it so far ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here comes Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi there.
You missed the beginning of our meeting.
I'm sorry. I was at a chair yoga and then I climbed the stairs. That's right.
Cheryl, were you with us last week? I think you were sitting on Bill's shoulder.
Yeah, I think I was in and out for different things.
Are you still running a computer that runs Windows 10?
I haven't even unpacked it since we got here, and I don't know if I'm going to. Just before we moved, Bill made sure that he had all of my documents and everything on a hard drive, separate, and don't know if I'm ever going to use the laptop again.
Okay. I only mention it because this is the second week that I've stuck this information about enrolling in the user support. And it's
I
only,
saw that.
we haven't
Yeah.
had a real conversation about it, and I'm sitting here with Fred and Chester, and either one of them would care about this. You guys have computers that run Windows 10. This is just a graphic I quickly made that shows you that enroll process.
You're still running Windows 10, aren't you?
Huh?
You're still,
11.
oh, Windows 11?
Yeah, I think I'm on 11.
If you're on a more later computer, then yeah, he'd be. But I'm thinking you still have a Windows 10 computer, and this
Yes.
is essentially what it would look like involved in.
There you go. Yeah, no, it might be a doorstop.
No.
You know, we didn't talk about it, but when I got back here, well, we talked about it a little bit. When I got back here, our PlayStation hard drive has failed us. Emily has taken that on as a project to install a new hard drive in the waiting for parts now. And my SD drive in the Computer Club laptop has been getting finicky on it. And I suspect because it passes tests, but it has lost data, where it's at least lost performance accessing data, that I think it's that fading, that data fading problem that about SD drives in general, and how the upkeep of that data, why SD drives are not proved to be a good place to store long backup. Because to maintain data, you need electricity to run them periodically for refreshing cycle. In fact, that will be in the future. A quality SD drive would have internal software taking moments of idle to refresh data that's on them, so that it doesn't lose data. This lack of electricity, lack of. And I think that's what this drive. I had actually the hard drive. Forgive me. The hard drive I bought for the computer I use for the club for in-person meetings. I saw this insane deal for a 1 terabyte drive for under $50. I didn't care the name brand. I obviously brand was. I've still got it. Who knows? I might do some experiments with it. Sorry about that. The name brand on it. Oh yeah, that's right. It's not even branded on it. I had it. Moment. Yeah, SP 5. Now I want to look up the name. I want to avoid it. But I think what it is the representation of a cheap SD drive that isn't doing good maintenance. Like its software, its internal package is not doing a good job of keeping data fresh. Since the arrivals of SD, I have felt very confident in Samsung SD drives. I feel like they are kind of bar that we. And I have also spent time working with data drives, which are much more popular outside the United States. We get a lot of them here in Mexico, and I have a lot of confidence in their quality. But this other one, which at the moment I cannot remember the name brand of, has proven to be mental. Last thing, whatever I do with it, it's not going to be relying on it. I don't know. What else is going on? I have brought a few topics with me. I've sent that link out to you guys, and I'm happy to go through some of that stuff. But as always, I see all three of you have hands up. Fred, why don't you go first? I think you were the first one in line here. What's going on?
Said so.
Oh, you answered mine. I just forgot to put my hand down. I'm sorry.
That's not how this works, Fred. Okay.
He needed to be
Chester,
in for
what's your
6 years
question?
to recoup the education,
I purchased a
which
4
in turn worked
terabyte
in his favor.
Western Digital.
Yes?
I
Spin,
wonder if it suffers from what you're talking about.
and and it's an SSD drive that you purchased, 4 terabytes.
Yeah,
I haven't had a lot of experience with the Western Digital brand in that respect. I couldn't give you a personal,
it has a lot of
but
capacity.
what I do know is that this is a persistent problem that is only now emerging in the industry. People have been experimenting with SSD drives over time, both in a usage capacity, like a 24/7 kind of usage in server technology, and then also in this concept of offline backups. And this is one of the problems that they're discovering, is that given a period of time without electricity, there is a fault tolerance that you pass. And one of the recommendations is exercising discs periodically. Now, I don't know if it's from what I've read or from what I've made up in my head, but I think what that means, kind of like a scan disk where you, or like a spin write where you read the data, you verify the data. If the data is difficult to read, then you rewrite the data after you've verified that it's correct. And so that's really exercising that disk. It's the same on a spinning disk. That would be exercising. But it's almost like that kind of intention needs to be built into the sequence of events that have hardware. And I'm suspecting Samsung had an issue like this originally with their 860s, their 860 drives. I remember, and they had to change their firmware so that it would periodically be trimming this data and determining whether it's still optimal and refreshing that data so that they stay optimal. What they had determined was that over time, things that had not changed or had not been written over recently would, for lack of a better word, go stale. And that's really the experience that I just had felt like. It maybe 1 out of 5 times it would boot into Windows, and then when it would get into Windows, it was like molasses on a cold day. It wasn't that it wasn't reading it. It was that it was reading it and having to double and triple and quadruple error check what it was reading to determine what the data really was. The things were happening, but nothing was happening. The potential for data loss is high enough that some archivists have decided to return back to spinning drives because they can there's an how would I phrase there's an amount of degradation that they inherently understand, just the amount of time that they have been in the marketplace tested. They know what the tolerances are, and it's looking like we're still figuring out the tolerance for SS. And then another thing is that the SSD drives have been increasing in their capacity, and they've done that by in or lowering the the space between the bits in the memory. And not that I'm an expert in this at all, but I understand that the original system was based on 3, and the latest versions based on 4, and the very nature of this data density, this physical density, makes those of 4 more vulnerable to problems of data loss and failure than those of 3. And you can see this in the Samsung name brand. They use their EVO is referring to the 3 technology, and Q is referred to as the 4 technology. And again, I have general knowledge in this. I'm not an expert in this. But what I've come to understand is the 4 represents quad represents the ability to store more data in the same space, which translates physically to less space per data, which opens up a more vulnerable area for data corruption. Of course, all of this is done because everybody wants more for less. That works. And so this is the latest technology in it, is this 4 pattern, stacking of. But that's what all the latest drives have, especially. And I try to stay away from the Q drives because you can see between the two. The Q drives have a shorter warranty. They are a cheap drive though, or for less with. So it is interesting because now we've determined that SSD drives, at least at this point in technology, they are not ideal for servers and they're not ideal for offline storage, like backup storage. With this in mind, when we went to go look for a hard drive for the PS4, I'm thinking in terms of like last year, and I was like, hey, why don't we just take all this money we were going to drive and dump it into a large spinning disk? And hopefully that will give our PlayStation more life. We won't have to worry about it suffering from losing data or slowing down. One of the problems with an SSD drive, and specifically things like a gaming platform or a server, one of the reasons they don't work well for a server, maybe a RAID configuration, is the data gets changed so often that it kind of uses up the SSD. There is a finite life of an SSD drive, and it's not worn out, but it is a limitation on how much it can be used. And so if you have a situation where that data is changing so frequently, the more frequently, the shorter life that the drive is going to have. It is actually proportionate to the size drive you have. The way SSD technology works, and we've talked about this before, quite literally, the larger the hard drive, the longer the life that hard drive is going to have, that solid state drive is going to have. Smaller capacity SSD drives not physically last as long as the higher capacity drives. So for longevity, the size of the SSD drive you buy in a computer needs to be a purchase decision. The other thing that we've talked about in the past, but I'll bring it up again because I'm talking about it, is that speed of the SSD drive is also directly proportional to the capacity of that drive. A 256 gigabyte SSD is slower than a 1 terabyte drive or a 2 terabyte drive because of the nature of how the nature. You guys still see me? Hello? Are we still connected? I think we must have lost our. Back in a moment.
Oh, here he
He's
comes.
back.
He's
He's
back.
back.
Second, let me get moved. So I think something happened to Cloudflare's DNS. I have manual DNS addresses set in network for 1.1.1.1, 1.0.0.1. They're the open, free DNS provided by Cloudflare as pure DNS, not your local internet service provider. And they're down right now. And so I lost the ability, just to disregard everything we were talking about right before. The DNSs, to remind you, are like phone books for the internet. Let's us say want to go to CNN.com. Go look up CNN.com at the DNS. The DNS gives you a generic address that you connect to. Without the DNS, you can't look up those generic addresses. Connection because you don't know where. There are some addresses that you could actually remember, like 1.1.1.1. That's why it makes such a practical name for a DNS. Very easy. The fact that they've put together, they have a ethos, or they have had an ethos of security behind the idea. People out there on the internet would faster, more DNS without having to compromise what they're doing on their internet connection, sharing that local DNS. But it's down right now. If I ping it, it doesn't exist. Without it existing, my system is not able to find the internet. It took me a little while to figure out what was going on. And then I had to manually switch my DNS to 9.9.9, which ironically, 9.9.9 has been around for a while now. It was formed by a consortium at IBM, but it's held outside the United States. And ironically, I was just having this conversation with Richard. He was telling me he was switching all his over from 1.1.1.1. Don't I sound to 9.9.9.9? Because of the sheer privacy aspect of it, and being a privacy, feels like it just makes sense for you to be using a phone book that's kept in a neutral country. Have to worry about your privacy. I thought that was a reasonable position to take, mostly because Cloudflare had, at the time we were having this discussion, had just gone through an issue that everyone's skeptical about their intention. Sorry, I don't have that news article in front of me. Not remembering now what it was. I wasn't remembering at the time of the discussion. I actually had to Google it while Richard and I were talking so that I could remember what it was. But they have done something recently that has brought in question the ethics behind what they've accomplished and whether it could be used in the future. So I was considering switching over my DNS on Richard's recommendation because regardless of what's gone on with Cloudflare, which should be another reason that his logic seems sound to me. These are phone books that remember what you were looking for. So they could be compromised in the correct situations, either by hackers or by governments, or by business, could be using the data in those phone books to do what you do on the internet. That's what you're trying to avoid at all costs, privacy. And so a database or a DNS, a DNS system that is made by a consortium whose ethos has been to not collect any of that information, your logins, and then place it, secure logs, and then place it in a country of neutral standings subject investigation is probably a good idea for. After this experience, I am probably going to readdress my whole network. Right now, it's just this. So that's what happened to me in the last. I'm glad to see you guys are still here. Now, does somebody want to remind me what we were talking about before I got disconnected?
Yeah, we were talking about the reliability and continued reliability of SD
That's right, the SSD.
external hard drive.
Yeah, the SSD drives, and and I guess the thing, it's starting to become a niche for where these are the most appropriate drives. Now they are absolutely faster than drives. Not ever forget that. Performance boost every time you choose one, and all modern computers come with one. Spinning drives are legacy, and they're still around, but what's becoming more clear is we may need to keep them around even longer than we, because their longevity problems are well known, documented solutions. SSD longevity still being, and at the moment it doesn't look like it's appropriate to put SSD drives in a RAID configuration, because you will exercise them to death very quickly before spinning drives would be dead. And great authority Steve Gibson of Gibson Research, he has publicly proclaimed switched all his servers back to drives because of exercising killing SSD drives quicker than this other case that's becoming more relevant, using them as long-term offline storage is also proving to fail over time. At the very least, it will change our storage. May need to have some kind of storage dock, move drives at a periodic pace so that they can maintain data. With hard drives, one of the things that time causes is deterioration. There's rubber grommets. There's moving parts that that can corrode and change shape given different climates. They expand and contract with. So spinning drives have problems that we're very aware of for long-term storage. But we've dealt with those kinds of things. We've got an idea of how long it will last on the shelf, or we need to replace it with something else. And given good climate controls, that drive may be around for a very long. Yes, Chester.
Yeah, I mentioned a while ago that I had purchased a 4 terabyte SSD drive, and I have been using it once a month to back up my computer. But I also have another one that a 1 terabyte drive that I keep connected all the time to back up everything on my computer. Every change is current by the minute. I'm just wondering if I shouldn't combine those two into the 4 terabyte, which has a lot of space, and use it daily and continuously rather than once a month.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I'm not certain what the recommendation is right now. What is the name brand of your SSD?
They're both Western
Western
Digital, which
I'm
is a
sorry,
very large.
you said that at the beginning. I'm sorry, I forgot that.
That's
Uh,
okay. That's all right.
so, I think that at this stage, we really are looking for data from Western Digital, specifically your model. When I was mentioning the problem that Samsung discovered, they pushed out a software update to the firmware, which is now included in all their future release SSD drives. This happened a couple of years ago. And that firmware resolved this issue, similar to the kind of thing that I was complaining about with this no-name SSD drive, where data was kind of the strength of the data was dissipating and needing to be refreshed. And so they released a firmware that's at the hardware level. So never running. You don't see it running in Windows. It's happening on the chip, on the hardware, but it is periodically going tasks that's rejuvenating data. As long as there's power to that drive, then at some point while it's powered, it's going through that process. I imagine at idle times. And I think that's what needs to be determined from each drive that you're running. And then if you are using it for backups, well, you're definitely not going to exercise it to death if just for backups. Updating information. This rejuvenation process is an exercise, and that in itself will shorten the longevity. The potential longevity that we want to have is shortened by that process. The way SSD drives work, the more often that it needs to be written, the less life it has. And so just this change in the approach changes the longevity of. But I think you're looking for very specific information about Western Digital's SSD drive, specifically your model, determine whether it makes sense to you to use it for backup. And from what I've read, you'll want to power it from time to time. You'll want to exercise it from time to time. Maybe once a month is good enough, as long as it's connected and powered for longer. Maybe what you're looking for is a workflow where you do the backup and then you don't put it back in a drawer for a 24-hour period or a 48-hour period.
That's what I was thinking.
It could be that's the way to take full advantage of this, given the situation that we're in.
Because with 4 terabytes, I certainly have the capacity.
Yes, and and the longevity, the way it works as far as the capacity is that the drive is constantly supposed to be. It's called trimming, I believe, where it's set aside space for whenever it finds something on the drive that's difficult to read because of it, then it will move that in this trimmed space that's set aside specifically for this. All that may built in firmware of the hardware, so it's a matter of the name brand, of how good an S, which actually is kind of refreshing. We can rely on when it says Sony, that means something. When it says Samsung, it means, because
So does Western Digital. They are one of the largest and have been for many years.
well,
Wonderful.
just like Seagate, they have transitioned from an old school spinning drive company, this new area, this SSD area, and I still consider they've only been the norm for the last 5 years, and you can still buy products out there with discs in but it has taken over this sector, and Western Digital and Seagate, these are companies that have had to keep up in the area, whereas companies like Samsung and Crucial were actually working in the area to begin with. They were working in memory to start with. They transitioned from memory in storage memory. So this area of expertise and quality is different because those two different areas of technology. I would do the research on Western Digital. I might use an AI to help, maybe a compare and contrast, a longevity study, something like that might be helpful. I actually, in our most recent document, I added a AI piece because one of the articles that I was providing you with is talking about how Warner Brothers has Disney sue Sling TV. And I couldn't figure out why the article was referring to DirecTV.
Yeah, I saw that article. I mean, I saw your article.
Yeah. And so I used Gemini. I actually used Google search to ask, and it gave me that AI overview. I pasted it down below because apparently Sling TV and Dish TV are both owned by EchoStar. And EchoStar is up for a potential merger with DirecTV. They're looking at buying EchoStar, which would
And
be,
DirecTV is owned by AT&T.
is it still owned by AT&T? I didn't come across that in this, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I think so.
But so what they're doing is they're merging all these properties together.
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't know that had already happened. I didn't know that Dish TV, Sling, part of the same company. I didn't know that by EchoStar, and I found AI to be very helpful in sorting that out very quickly. Didn't have to go read any articles. I just asked them what the relationship was. In fact, I'll stick it on the screen here because I just asked Google search, the regular search, what relationship does Sling TV have with DirecTV? And I pasted the synopsis down here below so that you would have something, you'd see what that kind of result was. And this is one of those AI overviews about all the time. To me, this is the kind of connections of information very quickly that I found very helpful right off the get-go. And I could chase down the sources that created this, but it's hard to believe this is fictitious. This is good enough for the moment. And so I would probably use something like AI or a Google search to find out what the longevity of Western Digital, your models specifically, because we know from the industry models get forgotten about from time to time. So the newer drives may be fully capable of what we're concerned with, whereas they've just abandoned, they've orphaned the older ones. Your model number specifically would be part of this.
Well, I don't readily have the model numbers, but both of these SSDs by Western Digital are named My Passport.
They're My Passport SSD. Then there should be a model associated with it, maybe on a sticker, or maybe when you plug it in. And Chester, one thing that I do know about Western Digital is they typically have tools that actually a lot of these drive manufacturers come with tools to monitor and maintain the health of the drive. And
Yes.
with
I have
the okay, good, because I recommend staying on top of those as well, because they'll be the first indicator of the problem with it.
Yeah, I have that software.
Well, so I guess we've gotten into some of the articles I brought with me. The one I just mentioned is the last one on this list. And I only mentioned it because of my AI query. I wanted to show how useful that was, my knowledge. Call ending in 12 minutes. Did we switch over to the other meeting just to make sure we've done it? I'll open it up. It's I'll just keep talking here. So what's interesting? Why I found this interesting? This Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is because of the DirecTV wanting to merge Echoes. Cheryl, yeah. What's up, Fred? Cheryl, I've got up. Hands up. What's up?
Sorry, I thought we were moving on to another topic. I have one when we're done. Your list.
Okay. Yeah, no, we can move on to another topic. We actually didn't even start that one yet, and it doesn't
Okay.
matter my topic. What matters is your topic. So what do you have?
Okay, well, I've been hearing things and reading things about the toll booths in Mexico. Uh, Technology has invaded. Are we still able to pay cash at the toll booths between the USA and Alamos?
Well, we drove down. I caught a ride with somebody down here on September 16th, and we were able to pay cash all the way.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I know
Yeah,
that's after that deadline that people were passing around. There was, and I think that I mean, I just can't imagine they would make it so complicated. Couldn't cash that's wrong for me.
well, there's something about, there was one deadline was September 1st on a couple of them. And then the phased in over time that by spring of 26, they're all going to be, is what I was reading. But so
Well, at the very least, they're going to have some system for free zone. Like there are tolls all over. There's that toll right there at Mariposa.
yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to have a system to. I don't know anything about it. If I hear anything, I'm happy to. I haven't heard it. In fact, I write in.
Okay. And the other
I'll
one
see if
was,
Yuya knows it.
yeah, I thought maybe you would be the one to ask. And then the FMMs, supposedly they too, you're going to have to apply for them online and then get them stamped at the border, which a lot of people have been doing for a lot of years, but we've always just walked in and got ours.
So this was a strange experience for me. Well, because I watched all that news as they shut it down in the city of Guaymas. We drove, or not Guaymas, Sinner Nogales, where we saw news articles of lines of gringos that couldn't get into the country when they were expecting to walk across the border down the town. We drove across the Mariposa entrance, and it didn't even occur to my ride to be concerned about that. They were planning on walking in and getting their and doing that whole thing right there at Mariposa, and that's exactly what they did. They walked in Mariposa, thing they normally do to get their visa across the border.
Wait a minute, at Mariposa or at kilometer 21?
At 21, I'm sorry, we took the truck
Sure.
route, but we ended up at yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, okay, at kilometer 21, and they were able to get their FMM this year, this September.
They're temporary tourist, yeah, like whatever that is, 10 days to 6, whatever they offer. I'm not a tourist for so long, I don't even know what's offered anymore. But they're essentially coming down under that same. They needed to get that on all three of their passports. They were
Yeah,
able. They were
it's
able.
not, yeah, it's separate from your passport,
Yeah.
but they take your passport and put it in the computer and everything, and you pay so much for it. And depending on how many days you tell them that you're going to, that you want it for, is how long they give you it.
So yeah, at 21, they were able to do that when I was skeptical because
Yeah, okay, so you have got personal, you saw somebody do it, so that's good.
September 16th is the last time I saw it being done.
Okay, well, we're hoping for November 4th, so
right.
there you go.
Well, if I become aware of any of that changing, I'm happy to share it.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.
So let's see. Which time do we have on this left? 7 minutes to go. Okay, I'll keep talking. Chester, I think we've got some background noise coming through your connection there.
And Fred has his hand up?
Fred, what would you like to add?
I was just wondering if you heard about the SIM servers that they had in New York that were supposed to make it so that you couldn't make calls because they'd overloaded the system.
Do you want to talk a bit about that? I read one article on it. I thought it was fascinating. I actually stuck it in my list of stuff. I just don't have it here.
We'll put it in for next week.
I will. Yeah, it's interesting that all that was going on around the UN. I was waiting to see how it plays out. Yes, Chester.
Yeah, I just wanted to fill you in on what something I've been doing this last month. I finally got tired of having to pay DirecTV such a fortune every month when I wasn't using it all that much. I was doing more and more of streaming with Paramount and with Netflix and with YouTube. So I cut it way back, and now I'm doing more and more with Paramount and with YouTube. As to YouTube, I was concerned about getting ads that would interfere with what I was watching. And so yesterday, I paid them for a year subscription it was $150 for a year to exclude all the ads from my YouTube account.
Does that
And
include YouTube TV? Is that part of that package?
yeah, I watched YouTube TV last night and there were no ads.
Awesome. Well, then you might appreciate this lawsuit that's going on. This is a fun article because it is not passive at all. It's definitely one-sided. But the dudes, did I summarize it? He basically accuses Warner Brothers of suing Sling because they're offering too good of a package, too innovative for the consumers, too good of a deal, and Warner Brothers is not making the money that's Sling TV's fault, offering too great of a. And I thought this was a bit tongue in cheek, and so I did a little research into this, and it turns out I had no idea this was going on. But Sling TV has been offering day passes. So there's this content that you're able to get on Sling that normally you wouldn't be able to watch unless you had like a cable subscription or a direct TV subscription. You're basically paying monthly to have access. Like for example, some football game. Then you're already part of a package that's providing that to you. What Sling is doing is it's seeing, oh, this important football game is coming up. How would you like a day pass to our services so that you can watch that particular thing? Now they're not limiting it to that particular thing like a pay-per-view. It's more like a pay-for-use. It's like a daily pay-per-use bundle. So you could pay $5 and have 24-hour access to everything Sling has made available. Sling has gone out and deals with content providers to allow all that on their platform. Very similar to a cable company. But what they've done differently recently is this idea that you could get access to it for a particular reason, one particular day or two particular days. Now Warner Brothers is joining Disney to Sling because their content was never meant to be consumed so cheaply, so easily. For their content, the argument, and actually there is an argument by Warner Brothers lawyer Dahi. Before we get disconnected, or did we lose Cheryl? Oh, Cheryl's coming in.
At 6:30.
Gonna keep moving forward, Cheryl, but you're connected. Fred's left the meeting, so I hope he's coming over here.
12:44.
All right, Chester. Fred, are you moving over? I don't know how much time we've got left. We got under a minute. Investors coming in. Now we're just red. Thank you. Red, are you moving over? Ah, there we go. Right, welcome back. Welcome to the second somewhat half of this. Esther's got his hand up.
Now, I wanted to mention that Amazon has recently settled a lawsuit over their difficulty that they presented with membership being able to cancel their service. And they're going to have to offer to all their members that had this problem of cancellation a settlement. And I think they have to set aside $2.5 billion.
Oh, wow.
I'm one of those because last year I tried to cancel my Amazon membership before. This is a Prime membership. I tried to cancel it before it was due and they wouldn't let me. And so I had to renew it anyway. And so this year I did it in advance. I canceled it. So I should be one of the participants in the settlement.
That's very interesting. I didn't even realize that was a thing. I haven't tried to cancel Prime membership. Told me I could only do it at certain days. I'd be frustrated.
Well, that's the way it was. Now, when I went to cancel this year, it was very easy.
I'm gonna go back to this topic now because I think it's important we're aware of the way that these companies are. He's got a quote in here. The lawyer for Warner Brothers says the passes fundamentally disrupt the industry standard model by allowing customers to purchase access to the most sought after programming, such as major sports events, essentially in an a la carte for a fraction of the cost that a consumer would have had to pay to watch the event on a pay-per-view. For example, a sports fan could simply purchase a day pass, watch selected programming, such as a highly popular sports game, without purchasing a month-long subscription or paying a higher pay-per-view fee. And I hope that Sling TV wins this lawsuit because that line from Warner Brothers lawyer is their marketing campaign. What he's essentially saying, the quiet part out loud, that is exactly what we want from these. And he's saying my company doesn't roll with that because they don't make enough money when you. Anyway, I thought this was a real interesting thing that's going on. This take on it is really slanted. There's nothing fair biased or fair balanced about this take on it. If you read this article, it is definitely condemning these large media companies for I don't know, overreach, for just profits for profit's sake, for stifling. You know what I would hold them accountable for is stifling innovation for profits. That's what's here. Slingbox or Sling TV has come up with an innovative product that people would demand and want, and here's the old school guard trying to shut it down because they don't make enough money off. I've included a couple other articles here that maybe we'll move real quick. I know a lot of you use a Fire Stick. We talked about some things that you can do on the remote control a couple of weeks ago, like 5 different things you can do, including resetting the box, resetting the remote control. If you're not aware, the Fire Stick remote control is a little computer in itself, and sometimes that needs. And so we went through an article of things to do with the remote control. This is an article I've found of 6 different ways you can USB port on your Amazon Fire Stick. This little micro port on that can be used as long as you're providing power through an adapter, then you can use that as a USB port. And I won't get too deep into it because it's very straightforward, but like from this picture, you can see that and it with a dongle. There's a cable that allows you to plug extra storage into the Fire Stick while still maintaining a power source connector. This is a very common way of doing things. You could also take this instead of connecting it one storage source, you could plug it into a USB hub and plug multiple sources into it. Fire Stick is an Android-based operating. Have access. There are other options you can do, like powering other devices, adding an Ethernet adapter if you're in an environment where Wi-Fi is flaky and you'd be better with a cable. There's connecting keyboards, mouse, or any other peripheral that you could imagine that might have a USB port on it. You could connect to it. And so this just goes through all the different ways you can use that USB port. We don't have to talk too deeply about it, but I thought it was a good resource, and so I've dropped it in our document. And not today. Here's our document. And then another bit I brought along today was an article in The Guardian written by Tim Berners-Lee. And if you're not familiar with who this is, we really consider him the father of the. He is the one at CERN that came up with the idea of mixing a web browser or a way to repositories of information together. And so it was really taking the 2 different technologies of storing and retrieving information you could read and providing links in that information, other storages, basically the hyperlinks that my document right now. This is the reason that I can put a link right here that will pop open another document. Is the guy that did that. That didn't exist until him in the. This is really an article. I don't know if you could. What's happened? I think I've gone past. Oh no, yeah. And so this is really an article of him explaining why he released it to the free. And I thought it was very insightful. It's something to reflect on in this day and age right now where we're at, how information is siloed up. And if I could draw just one thing from this, I would point to the quote article, which I've shared in our document. Sharing your information in a smart way can also liberate it. Why is your smartwatch writing your biological data to one silo in one format? Why is your credit card writing your financial data to a second silo, different format? Why are your YouTube comments, your Reddit posts, Facebook updates, tweets all stored in different places? Why is the default expectation that you aren't supposed to be able to look at any of this? Who generated all this data? Your actions, your choices, your body, your preferences, your decisions should be empowered by it. This just harkens to my idea of the Digital Bill of Rights, and I get his interpretation. He is the guy that started all of this, and his opinion. The last thing that I brought along for today is kind of in the same vein. It's kind of in the vein of the digital Bill of rights. It's kind of in the vein of his article. And it's this article about how the open source infrastructure is starting to break. And this is an open letter that was written by a consortium of open source repositories out there that make up the framework of the whole model of how we're developing software right now. And open source, if you guys haven't been close of attention, something like a Linux is used in over 50 devices. I'd go as high as 75% of devices. Bet in the article it gives us a number, but what we know is that we're using Linux and like DVD players and set-top boxes, and even the Android is a fork of a Linux contribution. The this open source development, it touches all aspects of hardware, all aspects of our technological life. And what's happened is there are hardware companies out there that have taken advantage of that. I keep saying hardware, and I really don't mean that. I mean technological companies take advantage of this open infrastructure for providing code. When you build software that is components of other pieces of software, in this world now, they come together in a web of connected tissue, stitched together into that application, that platform. But each one of those components is made by some individual out there on the internet. Either it's a personal project or it's one company decided to take up, host, and be the curator, to be the one that makes sure that development moves forward and it's compatible, and it has security. It's free of bugs, free of viruses, and it's compatible with whatever the latest, whatever newest version of the operating system hold together. So we are a hodgepodge of all these different responsibilities out there on the internet, all acting with a common goal. This is a from institutes out there that are providing this infrastructure for development. An open letter that has been written to these for-profit businesses. They feel that they are getting overwhelmed with their demands on this open. They are not getting reciprocal value that makes repository. And so I'm kind of, I mean, it's a bit of a nebulous concept. You have to get understand what they're complaining about. But it's basically their idea of providing this stuff is be able to have a value come back to, and they're really not seeing that value come back. They, in here you'll see, they like one of the titles is overconsumption, because for-profit driven endeavors are relying so heavily on the infrastructure of open source. It's causing the open source infrastructure to break down. They don't have the resources up everyone to use, because a Microsoft or an Amazon or some other large entity out there just pulling, or it's just large entities in general, all pulling from what they've, and so they're seeing cracks in that, really asking to reevaluate this model before they lose the model entirely. They are proposing that high volume commercial users should contribute financially through partnerships. I think I wrote in our document that I would use the analogy of like a road or a park, a city, or any shared facility where it's being burdened by special. That's my own document. I kind of, when I read this and see the kind of complaint they're talking about, it kind of is reminiscent of things like the road to Loma Del Mar, which Loma Del Mar has forever ended up having to be the one responsible. And that road gets used by delivery trucks, big trucks hauling furniture or construction materials. That road gets just beat up and beat up and beat up, but there isn't any pardon me, there isn't any contribution from the from vehicles doing the majority of the damage to the road, and there is an extensive amount of damage being done that Loma Del Mar has had to take responsibility for the road. I don't think it's a perfect analogy, but it feels very similar to these circumstances where they've put something in place so that they can share openly and share development openly, learn and grow projects, and then somebody with 10 times, 100 times comes in, but they're not contributing at that level, and that need is so great that it's doing damage to. It'll be interesting. This is from the FOSS community, the free and open source community. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe they can get some major players to contribute to things like GitHubs and GitHub was bought by Microsoft. That might be one of the first examples of taking responsibility for. That's it, folks. That's what I've got. That's what I've brought to this meeting today. I'm happy to talk about anything else. I'm happy to talk about recommendations. Otherwise, I think we've reached.
I've got to run.
All right, Fred. Well, hopefully we'll see you next week. Oh, just a reminder, next week will be an in-person meeting, or that's the plan. If it's not an in-person meeting and you're here in San Carlos, then I look for the announcement. I will clarify on our announcement probably the day before whether we're doing an in-person meeting. But right now, the plan is in-person meeting. Broadcasting from Tequilas if everything's copacetic.
All right. Have a good week.
You too, Fred. Jester,
Bye-bye.
Cheryl, you've got any last minute things to add to this meeting before we call it to an end?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
You're welcome,
Chester, just before you leave, Chester, I think we've talked before about Dark Winds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm watching season 3 now, so I just wondered if you had seen it.
Is it available for last season?
Yes, I think. Let me think where I'm watching it. I think I'm watching it on Prime, which you just said you canceled, but
Right.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because I'm in season 3.
Well, I'll see if I can find it tonight.
Okay.
It's a good program.
Yeah.
It would be season 3, I believe.
Yep, I'm on season 3.
I am bringing up right now just
And
watch.
I also want
to see. Shows it on Amazon and Apple TV. If you're using
I have Apple.
You do have Apples. Yeah,
Okay, there you are.
It looks like it's for purchase on Apple. Sorry to say. Prime Video is the only place it's got listed for free. So you can buy the season on Apple.
Seems like I also found it on Paramount.
Well,
I believe it's on Paramount.
Looking in the right. Yeah, I am looking in US. Just Watch has a good reputation, but it might have missed which one it's on. but it shows it. You can rent it from Apple TV for $20, or you can watch it free from Amazon. It's $20 on Amazon, $20 on Apple TV, or it's for free if you've got Prime Video. That's all the legitimate.
Actually, my Prime Video says that I can. My Prime Video says I can buy season 3 HD for $21. But I guess maybe I was watching it on Stremio.
You don't
But
have
the
an
other one I
offer for
did
free?
watch on Prime.
In Canada, you don't have an offer to watch it for free?
Not on Prime.
I'm going to switch
Nope.
countries to Canada. And
I think it only had like a preview of episode 1. Season 1.
Okay.
I did watch a movie
Hey,
on Prime.
it does look like you can watch it on
AMC, yeah. Which I'm not sure what that is.
American Movie. It does look like you can watch similar TV. That's buyers. Just like everything else. Just Watch has thrown in. I don't know. Did you guys see that before I lost it? Look at the watch. I clicked for free. It shows Prime Video, but then it says next to it, watch similar TV shows for free. And down here it says promoted. So it's an advertisement for Prime Video in the middle of the results.
Yeah.
Devious. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Yeah.
What else do you want to add?
Well, I watched a movie called The Bad Seed. 2 brothers, basically. Let me think. It took place in, what do they say about investigation of a brutal murder draws 2 brothers into a hurricane of scandal in this gripping crime drama. England, let me think. Yeah, it was okay.
It was okay. You'd recommend it?
Yeah. Yeah. It was an okay watch.
Wow, there's a lot of bad.
And then I talked about at the end of The Bad Seed by Sundance Film. It's a limited series, drama,
series?
suspense.
What is a
Yeah.
series?
A limited series. Arthur Charlotte Grimshaw. It's an award-winning author. The Bad Seed. So it's from a book.
That must.
I have a movie too,
Oh, please, Chester, what you got?
Running for Grace.
Oh.
Running for Grace.
And I can't remember where I saw it. Sorry. I think it may be YouTube, or it could be Paramount. I'm not sure where I saw it. Running for Grace. It's an old, back in the 1920s in Hawaii.
Oh. Not like running as in an election.
No.
Oh, good.
Running for Grace.
It's basically a love story.
18. Does that sound right? I've got it on my screen. 20s Hawaii, that's got to be it. Aged about a young
Yeah, that's
man
it.
advanced boundaries of race. I get the feeling you and Jan have been sitting around watching movies.
Oh, we do every night.
Well,
When you're old, that's what you do.
I'm gonna add that to our list here. Did anybody watch Weapons? I had that on the list for last week, and now removed it. But it was an intriguing thriller horror story. Which is new. Who's the director? Right. A story about kids that get is kind of a weird.
Weapons?
Weapons, yeah, I forget. Oh, director did Barbarian. Director's
Oh,
couple of director Zach Kreger. A Companion, another one. Barbarians and Companion. Both of those are fairly recent movies that were very well done.
Heartland has also added another season,
Oh my gosh.
season 17.
I was gonna say, how many seasons does that have now?
17.
and Chester, I've moved into the area where that is filmed.
Oh, it's a beautiful area
Yeah.
in the summer.
Right now, the fall leaves are changing. So, yeah, it's a beautiful country.
Yes, it is. And it's a good series. I don't think there's any better.
We have room for feel good series. I'm a big I love James Herriot. I like watching him as a vet in the countryside, the English countryside. I think we need more feel good series out there.
Well, Heartland is very Western, cowboys and horses and everything, but it's a lot of love stories and some family drama. But it's a all around good show. My mom and dad really enjoyed watching all of it as well.
Basically, family.
Yeah, basic family type thing. Yeah, we're watching Murders in the Building.
Oh, all right. I haven't gotten past the first season, only just convenience. I haven't gotten back to it, but the first season was awesome.
Yeah, I would say the first season has been the best so far. The second one, we made it through and everything, but now are we in the fourth or third? Third or fourth? And they're still hanging in there. They have a couple of groaner moments. Oh, we have started watching another series though. It's called High Potential.
Oh, that's fun. I did watch some of that. That's great.
Yeah, we're watching one a night, and yeah, Chester, it's a pretty neat one too. A single mom who has an amazing memory, high IQ, but hasn't really got her life together. She's consulting for a police force. And she notices things at crime scenes. She sees details, and she has a lot of knowledge.
What's the name of it?
High Potential.
Okay, and where did you see both of these?
We're watching High Potential on Disney.
Like Disney, Hulu,
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, yeah.
And Murders?
Murders in the Building. Yeah, same thing. Disney. And it's coming out every Tuesday right now, but their older series are on there, available all the time.
Yeah, what we like best is to watch them all at once, years at one time.
Yeah, I was at a chair yoga thing in our complex this morning, and a couple that they kind of spend the summers out still on their land, and then they move in here for the winter, and they've just gotten back to TV. So the last two nights, the first night they binged 18 whatever it was, and last night was 1923. They watched the whole series.
Oh, wow. That's
So yeah, they said they've been watching a lot of TV.
I think Heartland took a couple of months.
Oh yeah.
Adios.
See you,
Okay.
Chester. See you, Cheryl. Until next week in Tequilas. Check on.
Okay. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. All right. Done it. Another Carlos Computer Club. Anyone is welcome to come and our meeting in person or virtually online. It is an open meeting. Encourage others to join us. However, obviously, regular also have some. Carlos, I personally have a computer consulting business out of there. I'm a remote worker, as well as I do work locally. Solution. I'm your guy. Scott at it. If you're interested in the computer club or the thing for communication, that you Scott at scc.org or go check out our website .org. Internet. Till next Tuesday at 10, everybody out there in internet land, check on.